if it's bull or bear, I don't care. It's quite a rough ride, just like life. But I'm kind of patient, 'cause only.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome. I am the Crypto Crow, and we're going to start doing things a little differently on this channel. I've been doing a lot of soul searching, trying to figure out what am I going to focus on? How am I going to conduct things? I want to start trying to keep all my pre-recorded videos under 10 minutes, if at all possible. And then, occasionally when I'm able to, I plan to start going live and doing long form Q&As. And then we're going to be doing long form face-to-face interviews as I start to book people. My studio is ready. I am ready. I really want to get back into the swing of things because I think there's a lot of stuff going on. And I want to really start helping people navigate what I think is happening. And I've been keeping my mouth shut about a lot. And one thing I've noticed a lot recently, quite frankly, a lot of YouTubers are out there calling for big Bitcoin pumps, and they're saying, oh, Bitcoin's going up. We're going to hit 50,000. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And honestly, everybody knows that a lot of the retail market has left Bitcoin Bitcoin and YouTube for that matter. And, I was going through and I was looking through my channel and I was looking at some of the analytics and granted, for the past year, I've been a little more quiet because I've been just trying to figure out a lot of things. And the one thing that I've seen is all of the videos where I'm bullish on projects, on Bitcoin, on the market, got all of the views. Anything I've done where I spoke, I think things are going to go down and I think this is going to happen, that they don't get as many views. People don't share them. The sentiment isn't as uplifting or inspiring, and so people don't act on them. Sadly, folks, it is what it is. And I think realistically, if you're looking at the market from really from any perspective, speculative or otherwise, there's a lot to be learned and a lot to be gained in a bear cycle if you just understand what's happening. When I was accumulating Cardano at 2 cents and riding that up, 30 cents, 33 cents, so forth and so on, obviously, understanding the bear cycle was what inspired me to be able to do that comfortably, not worrying about the price of today, and really being able to focus on what I saw coming tomorrow. And because of that, many of you have been following me, watching me, have done very, very well in the recent bull peak, in the recent bull cycle. So without further ado, I'm going to get into this because I want you guys to understand this here. What you're looking at is the previous cycle. Okay. This is from halving to halving. All right. So this is 2016 over here. We're looking at 2020 over here. And what you're going to see here is from the halving to the peak, we took about 553 days. Okay. And you can go back in history in previous peaks, previous cycles, and they all kind of seem to match up one way, shape, or form. All right. Now, from there, we got that peak, and you'll see that we set a channel top. Okay. That ultimately played out throughout the rest of the bull or the bear cycle, okay, all the way into 2020 until the next halving. Here that channel top was around 11,500, okay, give or take. And we never quite broke or closed above that. We've wicked above it, but we never really closed above it. And in the meantime, while that was happening, you can see this area right here is about where we are in our cycle, okay, today, all right? So keep that in mind when you're looking at this. We set that top for the whole, basically the whole channel of the bear cycle, never to really close above that or break it. And we continued to move further down. Now, we bottomed out, of course, as we've seen throughout history, when the price action of Bitcoin meets the 200 weekly moving average, that's typically a bottom. Now, we touched on it a couple times throughout this bear cycle, but we touched it and we never really closed below it. You have to excuse me. I'm a little verklempt. I don't even know if that's the word, but I've had a cold the past couple days, so I'm kind of getting over that. So if we look at that, this channel continued to rise up. The lows or the bottoms continued to rise up with the 200 weekly moving average, but ultimately we never really closed below it. and we never really closed above the top of this channel that was set about 70, 75, 80, within 10 days of the peak of the market, about 70 something days. Let's call it 75 days on average is basically where we set that top channel. Now we're going into our current market. We had the halving, which we sprung into action, okay, and we had our initial peak, okay. This peak was around April of 2021. Again, around 546 days until, no, not this peak. This was 336 days. The actual peak of the market was here, and that's 546 days out. Okay, so that has been the typical pattern. Now, I called this peak, and if you watch my channel for a long time, I said there would be a two-peak market. I saw a two-peak market, like in the 2013 markets. Now, with that, we had the initial peak. We had a secondary peak, which was higher than the first. And then we started our downward, our legitimate downward momentum. Okay. Now, if you look, we're about right here. Now we could say that this was the channel setter, but this is where I believe the channel set is. If you look at the price and where we're at after this cycle, we're about, this here is about 77 days, okay, from this final peak, or what I basically think is the actual final peak of the market. Now, a lot of people are saying, oh, we're going to go higher. I think it's wishful thinking. And a lot of people are saying, well, what about all these whales that are buying into Bitcoin? What's happening with all these whales? They're buying hundreds of millions of dollars. Yes, because if they buy it now and then they know that a bottom is near, they will be able to ultimately sell everything they've accumulated at a much higher price point, knowing that the bottom is coming, sell at that bottom and have capital losses before buying right back in to ride up to the next channel, right up to the peak of the channel and beyond. And those capital losses can offset a lot of the gains that they've enjoyed to that point or from previous purchases. These guys that are dealing in hundreds of millions of dollars, they have teams of analysts, tax people, financial people, all these different people saying, this is what we need to do. This is what you need to do. This is how you need to structure X, Y, Z, so forth and so on. And they're doing that. Don't think that just because they're buying it and accumulating, and in a lot of cases, they're leveraging what they already own to buy more so that they're not having to pay these capital gains taxes or any of these taxes. I mean, I don't know how it all works when you're buying with debt. I don't know how capital gains affects that scenario. But for somebody that isn't doing that and they're just buying Bitcoin and accumulating at 55,000, expecting a low or a bottom where they'll be able to basically take that capital loss by selling it and then buying right back in until we start to move up. That is why I believe a lot of these folks are buying into it. They're understanding the cycles. They have analysts explaining the cycles. So with that being said, if you look at this purple line here, this is ultimately the bars pattern of this previous cycle from the channel set, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember. I just did this a couple hours ago. But if I were to place it over here, it matches up pretty fluidly with the current price action and what's going on. Okay, it's not identical, but it's close enough to give me a pretty decent perspective as to what's happening and what may likely play out. If this is in fact the channel top, that's going to basically be the top resistance of the bear market, and we're going to ride that all the way out to the halving, well, you can see that the bottom looks to be around $28,000 to $29,000. Now, I've said publicly several times before that I expected it to be somewhere around 25 grand. And that's because this 200 weekly moving average, this is where we're at right now. This is the current price. Okay, we're at about 40,000, 41,000. The 200 weekly moving average still has a significant gap. I do not believe we are going to bottom until we've hit that 200 weekly moving average. Look at the history. That's how it's pretty much always been. Now, I could be wrong. History doesn't necessarily have to repeat itself. It is what it is. But based off of everything that's happened since 2009, the 200 weekly moving average has been the bottom. Now, we may touch on that bottom more than once during a bear cycle, but the 200 weekly moving average is the bottom. I do not think we've bottomed. I get a lot of people giving me flack saying, oh, Crow, you sold at the bottom. No, I didn't. I started selling Cardano at around $2. Okay. And I finished selling at about $1.46. We're in the 90 centile range. Okay. So I didn't sell a bottom. And I expected honestly to continue going lower. Right now, from where we're at, if this holds true, we're looking at about a 30% drop from where we're at before we officially bottom. Okay. So when you look at the grand scheme of things, this is how I see things playing out. And honestly, $49,000 top for this channel that we're probably going to ride out up and down, ebbs and flows as we go all the way up until the next halving in 2024. Whether you like it or not, that's what I see happening. That's what I think is happening. And so far it's playing out to be very close to that. So, you know, when you're watching a lot of videos out there and you're seeing people say, oh, we're going to go hit 50 grand and we're probably going to go higher. And, you know, look at all this on-chain metrics and all this other stuff. No, I think it's a lot of hoo-ha, and I think there's more to Bitcoin's price action in these market cycles than just whether or not the retail market is here or not. And I can go deeper in another video in the future. Let me know in the comments below what you think of this. If you think this video is preaching truth, as I typically always do, you know, it's truth as I see it. I don't necessarily have to be right, but this is what I believe, and I'm sticking to it. Until next time, guys, crow your coins, and I'll see you again soon.